Okay, so first section we're going to look at this week, 2.1. It's on inequalities. You guys in the warm-up already described what the four inequality symbols were, but we'll put them in the notes too. All right, so on that first line in your guided notes, it says an inequality symbol it's a symbol that basically compares two different expressions. It compares two different expressions. Now, you can have inequalities with all numbers. Like you could have something like this. And they could ask you a question, is that true? Is 3 less than 8? So if they asked you if that was true, what would you say? Kelsey? Is that true? Yeah, that's true. 3 is less than 8, so yeah, that would you just write like true. Now when they do something like this, if they asked you if that's true, well, it depends. Okay, so it depends now because you put a letter in there. So it could be true if you pick the right numbers. All right, it could also be false if you pick the wrong numbers. Right. So later in the week we're going to practice solving inequalities. Okay, so in your table you've got spots for those four symbols, and those are the four inequality symbols. Okay, the big thing that's going to happen this week is instead of having an equal sign in the problem, it's going to have one of these four instead. All right, Blake, can you remind me, what's the first one called?
Greater than.
Well, I made it in a different order than the guy on the warm-up.
Less than.
Yeah, that one's a less than, because it kind of looks like an L. It's like almost like twisted a little, turned a little bit. What's another way to say less than? Like another phrase instead of less.
Fewer.
Fewer.
As much.
Yep, you might see fewer than. What else could you see? Yeah, I guess that's it. So the reason I'm showing you guys that is because what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a word problem. And it might say something like, Joe has 3 fewer books than Sarah. So you have to know, oh, fewer, I should be using a less than, okay, or something like that. The next symbol, Maya, what's this one?
That one is, wait, no, we switched it. Less than or equal to.
Yep, less than or equal to. So you could pretty much say these two things again, just add equal to. So you can definitely say less than or equal to. Fewer than or equal to, I guess you could say. Now, another phrase you can say is at most. Okay, you can say at most. All right, so if I said to you, I have less than or equal to $10. All right, what does that really mean? I have less than or equal to 10. That basically means at most I have $10. That's all I have, at most, $10. All right? Another way to say that is no more than. Okay, if I said to you, I have no more than $5 on me. I have no more than $5. That means I could have $5 or less. I don't have any more than $5. All right. So these two are a little different, but different ways to say less than or equal to. How about the third symbol, Lucas? What's that one?
Greater than.
Greater than. So we could say is greater than, or what do you think another way we can say it is?
More than.
Yep, more than. Okay, pretty much we just take the same ones we already have and make it the opposite. All right, so more than, greater than. All right, and the last one, that's the greater than or equal to. What do you think the opposite of at most is?
At least.
At least, right? At least. So if I said to you, in order to pass for the term on the next test, you've got to get at least a 70 on the test. You've got to get at least a 70. Well, that means you've got to get a grade of 70 or higher, or greater, okay? Greater than or equal to a 70. And how about the last one? There's one more way you can say greater than or equal to.
Of number 2.
And it's kind of like what we set up for this one.
More
Is that
Is more than.
Is, well, we got that, so is greater than, is more than, or equal to, you could write that. But how about the third one that's kind of like the third one up here?
is no less than?
Is no less than. Okay? So if I said to you on the next test, your score can be no less than a 70. If I say you can't get no less, if it's like no less than a 70, then that means you've got to get 70 or higher. Right? So this word no kind of makes it, whoops, kind of makes it like the opposite, right? No less than, not less than. I guess you could say that too. Right? So sometimes we use that. I think it's a little confusing when you say the word no. It's kind of like if you said, what time do you get to school in the morning? And I said to you, well, not before 7:30. So not before 7:30 means I'm going to get here 7:30 or after. Greater than 7:30, later than 7:30. Okay, not before. Well, it's the opposite, later. So no less than, it's greater than or equal to. Okay, any questions on those? And a couple people mentioned some other ones I didn't write down, like is more than or equal to. You could write that one too. All right, so we got that. Okay, so let's take a look at an inequality as a sentence, and then see if we can change it into like something with numbers and symbols. So it says a number w minus 3.5 is less than or equal to negative 2. All right, so you guys already got that printed. All right, who can tell me what I should start with? What should I start writing here? Joe?
W minus 3.5.
Yeah, so W minus 3.5, that's all important. The first two words, a number, that's not really important, but W minus 3.5, minus 3.5. What's the next thing that's important there? And there's like a whole chunk of it that's important together.
Is less than or equal to.
Is less than or equal to. So this and this, that all goes together. What do we put in for that? Instead of writing all those words. Yeah? Yeah, put in the symbol is less than or equal to. So does that have the line under it or no line?
Yes.
It's got the line. Okay. Anytime you say the equal to, you got to put the line in. And then the last thing that's important is negative 2. Where's that going to go?
On the right.
Yep. It's going to go on the right. And that is your answer. It didn't actually say to figure it out. From the warm-up, does anybody know what you do on each side if they asked you to figure it out? This is going to be more what we do later on. But what's the one thing you'd have to do to get W by itself here? Mine?
When you subtract 3.5 from.
Well, if you have 3.5 and you minus another 3.5 from it, let's just see if it cancels out and you get 0. So there's negative 3.5. No, we got negative 7.
You add.
Yeah, you would add it. Okay, so if you were going to solve this and figure out, okay, what's the answer? You'd add 3.5 to each side. Just like you would do if it was like this. Same steps. Bless you. But for now, we just want to practice that. Okay, a number n is no less than 5. Okay? It's kind of like if I said I'm thinking of a number in my head, and the number I'm thinking of is not less than 5. So if it's not less than 5, what symbol do you use for that? Not less than, or no less than. Same thing. Yep. That's greater than or equal to. Okay? You have to get a score on this week's test of no less than 70.
Do we actually?
Right? Well, no.
It's different for everyone.
But if I said that no less than 70 means you don't have to get exactly a 70. You just got to get 70 or above. That's all. All right. So now we pretty much have it. N greater than or equal to 5. Now, if you were going to solve that, is there anything you'd have to do there? No. This is, if you're going to solve this, there's the answer. That means the number is greater than or equal to 5. It's not like the one above it where there was a letter near the number near the letter. Okay? There's no number on the same side as the letter. There'd be nothing to solve. How about this one? A number x times 13 is at most 8. It is at most. What does that mean? Is at most. Like if I said to go on the ride, you can be at most 18.
Great.
Maybe it's like a kid's ride or something. Is at most 18. Yeah?
So less than 8.
Yeah. Less than or equal to. Okay. How about, let's see, James, what's going to go on the left side of this? What are we going to put here? A number x times 13. How would you write that?
X 13.
Yeah, you could do x times 13 like that. Or what else could you do?
13x.
Yeah, we could put 13x. Why do we put 13x? I don't know. We just usually put the number in front of the letter. But you're not wrong if you do it this way. That's fine. So number times 13 is at most, or less than or equal to. Less than or equal to what? 8. Now, is this one where the letter is by itself? Is the letter all by itself on the left? No. What else is with it?
X.
Well, with the letter.
Or only 13.
13. So you'd have a little bit of work if you wanted to get rid of that 13. You'd have to do something on each side, and it's the same thing you would do if you had that problem.
Do you do anything to it?
If they asked you to solve it, yes. But for now, all they said was write each sentence as an inequality. So you do not have to solve that. Okay, I don't think most of the ones we do today we're going to be solving. Okay, we're gonna practice graphing today, and then tomorrow we'll do some solving and graphing. All right, let's look at this. All right, so you guys, let's see. Kind of towards the bottom, you have a blank that says a blank is a value that makes an inequality true. That's called the solution. A solution to an inequality, or of an inequality, is a value that you plug in and it makes it true. So like if I said in my head, x is greater than 5, and I said to you, give me a solution to that inequality. I'm looking for a number you could fill in right there. That would be true. Right? So what would be a number you could fill in for x that would make that true? James?
Anything greater than 5?
Yeah, so 6. 6 is a solution. 7 is a solution. 13.5 is a solution. How about 4? Is 4 a number you could plug in for x there?
No.
No, 4 is not bigger than 5. How about 5?
Yes.
Is
No.
5 greater than 5?
No.
No, 5 is equal to 5. So, no, it has to be bigger. How about 5.01?
Yep.
Yep, it's a little bit bigger. All right, so those are all what we call solutions. Now, the set of every answer, so I said like 6, 7, 13.5, 5.01, I said a bunch of them. All of those numbers are called the set of answers. Okay, they are called the solution set. Now, the one thing about inequalities is you can't write down every number that's a solution. You can't write every single number that's bigger than 5. Like 5.1, 6.2, 7.34. Like, you can't write them all. So what we do is our answer has this symbol in it. Okay? Last week, the answers had an equal sign in it. You won't have an equal sign this week. Okay? You're going to have one of those 4 symbols, greater than less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to.
How come we don't have an equal sign?
Because that's the stuff we did last week. So last week we looked at equations. This week we're going to look at inequalities.
Okay.
So there's one tricky thing with an inequality, and it would happen in a problem like this. I think I gave you one like this kind of in the notes. The tricky part here is that negative. This negative causes something to happen when you solve it. We're not gonna do that today, but we'll get to it later in the week. Other than this negative, pretty much everything you do with inequalities is exactly what you already learned with equations. Okay? Other than this one thing right here, that's different. All right. So for A, do you guys have the? No, you don't have that, so you have to write that down. Tell whether -4 is a solution. Okay. So if you want to tell if -4 is a solution, what's the first thing you should do with a -4?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. Take the -4, fill it in, make sure you do it out correct, and see what happens. So, -4 plus 8. Sometimes if I don't know if something's true, I put a question mark so I remember, oh yeah, I'm trying to figure out if it's true. I'm not saying it is true yet. I don't know. And if we add those up, how about Jaden? What's -4 plus 8? 4. Yep. So you get 4 is less than -3. What do we think?
False.
That's false. So is -4 a solution? No. No. What numbers are solutions? Well, we didn't figure that out yet, right? All we know is that -4 is not a solution.
Wait, what'd you do with the 8?
We added it. We added -4 and 8 and got 4.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, boys.
How about might need a calculator for this one? Well, actually, if you look at it kind of quick and you notice something, you're not going to need a calculator. What number are we plugging in for x?
4.
Let's go back up and double check.
Oh, -4.
-4.
I can see we got the no negative. That's why.
What do you notice about the number next to x?
Negative.
It's what?
-4.
So that x is -4. What about the number next to it?
-4.5.
-4.5. -4.5 times -4.
16.
What's going to happen when you do so? Not the number, but what happens when you multiply a negative?
It's positive.
Turns to a positive. So I don't even know exactly what I'm going to get on this side. I'm going to write it. I'll get my calculator in a second. But I know I'm going to have a positive number. I know that. Positive. Is a positive number greater than -21?
Yes.
Always. Doesn't even matter what I'm going to get. I can do it out and check. But a negative times a negative is always a positive. And positive numbers are always bigger than negative. So if I was doing this problem, I would just do that in my head and say, oh, it's positive, and I would write, yes, -4 is a solution. Yep. Yeah, just sign up. But if you really want to know what it is, it's positive 18. Any questions on that one? So if you can do that trick in your head, like if you notice something like that, oh, positive is always bigger than a negative, doesn't even matter what it is, you can just write yes. You don't have to show me that you got 18. Okay. If you want to, you can. All right, so since we can't write every single number that's a solution to an inequality, a lot of times we draw it. And if you look at the back of your notes, you kind of see what some of the drawings are going to look like. It's kind of like you shade on a number line, open circle, closed circle. You might have done something like that before. But the first blank on your guided notes, it should say the graph of an inequality shows the solution set. So the graph of an inequality. Now, this is the kind of graph like you're making like a bar graph or like a pie chart graph. Like we're not talking about that kind of graph. We're talking about like shading on a number line. Okay, very simple graph. Okay, so the graph of an inequality shows the solution to an inequality. Now, does anybody remember when we had problems like this last week? We had like 3x, I don't know, minus 4 is greater than 5. You might have had something like that. And we split it into two problems. If you don't remember how we split it, that's okay. I want to show you something. And then we had this. And we had to flip that. Actually, you know what? I think we did it with equal signs, so I'll do it the way we did last week. Yeah, we did it with equal signs. You guys don't know about the flipping thing yet. That's what we're going to do later on. So you had 3x minus 4 equals 5 equals negative 5. And then we solved each one. We got x equals 3. Now, and we'd solve the other one too. But does anybody remember on the test, I had you graph that. How did you graph x equals 3 on a number line? What did you have to do? Put a what?
Put it on 3.
And then put what on 3?
A dot.
Yeah, just put a dot. That's all you had to do. Okay, so what we were doing here is we were graphing all the answers. Well, there's only 2, right? 3. So you put a dot on 3. And then there's another answer which I'd have to solve. I guess I can do it quick. If you add 4, you get negative 1, and then you get x is negative a third. So you put a dot on 3, you put a dot somewhere near negative a third, and that's it. Right? You shade it in, which really was just a dot, on the 2 answers. Well, now we're going to be shading more. Okay, we're going to be shading like a whole section. And usually it's going to have an arrow, maybe something like this. Okay, you didn't have to use arrows last week, though. Okay, but that's what we're going to look at now. Yeah, James? Yeah, just sign up for me. Okay, so when graphing inequalities, there's a couple things we have to remember. First of all, I said to you when we did the warm-up, you're not wrong if you leave the number on the right, but it is more confusing. So we always want to set it up like this. Letter, symbol, number. It's not going to be all 4 of those symbols, it'll be one of them. Okay? But you always want letter, symbol, number. Okay, and if you've done a little bit of graphing, you might know why I would like it like that. Let's just make up one. X less than 5. If you set it up like this, this symbol right here tells you which way to shade on the number line. It's pointing to the left, you're going to shade to the left. So as long as you set it up with the letter, the symbol, and the number, this symbol gives you a hint which way to shade. All right. Now, this is the same thing. Some people might look at that and say, whoa, that looks different. It's not. These two things are exactly the same. All I did was I switched the x and the 5. Look at where it's pointing. It was pointing at the x. It's still pointing at the x. It's the same thing. The problem with this top one is if you look at that and you say, oh, it's pointing to the right, I'm going to shade to the right, you're going to get messed up. Right? Because it's not set up the way it should be. It should be letter, symbol, number. And then that tells you which way to shade. If you don't set it up that way, it's going to tell you the wrong way to shade. Okay? So we're gonna always stick with trying to do it like that. Now, when I say shade, there's actually 2 parts to shading. There's the shading part, and then there's putting a circle. Now, you look at your guided notes, you're going to see you have 2 different circles. Usually we call one of them like an open, just it's empty, and then the one below it, it's filled in. And we call that one, does anyone know what you call the filled in circle?
Closed.
Closed. how do you know when to use the open one? Okay. Well, you look at your problem, look at the symbol. If the original problem had this symbol or that symbol, you always use an open circle on the number line. If the original problem had, can't really highlight it, but had that symbol, less than or equal to, or the one next to it. There we go. Well, now you can't see that it's equal to. Greater than or equal to, you're going to use a filled-in circle. Okay. Small, very small change, filling it in, not filling it in, but that would make the difference between, like if it was a graphing problem on a test, getting half credit or full credit. Right? If you use the wrong circle, you're going to lose some points. Maybe not all the points if you did some other stuff right, but you'd lose a little bit of points. Okay, so any question on when to use which type of circle? The way I kind of remember it too is if you've got the extra little line under the symbol, you have to take the extra step and fill it in. To me, filling in the circle takes a little bit more work. Right? It's like an extra second or two just to fill it in. So if you've got the extra line under the symbol, take the extra step and fill in the circle. Okay? All right. Now the last step. So step 3, you guys got a spot. You might have to go on to the next line too. I don't know. But you want to shade the number line. Okay, so basically you're going to shade it and you're going to do an arrow. Now some teachers say, oh, I want you to shade always above the number line. I don't care if you shade above the number line or on the number line. I usually just shade right on. But if you shade above it, that's okay too. So shade the number line with an arrow. Okay, the 2 options when you're done, the arrow is either going to point to the left or it's going to point to the right. And that's it. So you're going to have a circle, and from that circle, you're going to shade either to the left or to the right. All right, now we can do this kind of problem 2 ways. Okay. One way we can do it is I give you the inequality and I ask you to graph it. Okay, so we're going to do something like that. Or the other way, I'll give you the graph. Okay, here's the graph already done. You tell me what the inequality is. Right, so we'll practice a couple of each. And then I think I got 4 extra practice ones, and then that'll be it. Okay, so let's start with this one. All right, so first thing I ask myself when I see that is that set up the way that the guided note said to do it? Yes, it is. Letter, symbol, number. Perfect. We're going to do one in a second that's not. Okay, but that one is. Letter, symbol, number. Okay. So now, sometimes you have to number your own number line. Okay. There's lots of ways you can do it. Just make sure whatever you use for numbers, you're consistent. Don't do this. Don't go 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Like I can't tell if you're going by 1s or 2s. You're kind of all over the place. All right. So whatever you do, just go by the same number. I just go by 3s. 0, 3, -3. I might not set up every problem that way, but that's easy enough on me. All right. Now, what kind of circle am I going to use? Filled and open, which is not filled in, or closed, which is filled in. Olivia?
Close.
Yep, we're going to do closed. So we're going to fill it in. So we've got our circle. Now we just have to decide where the circle goes. Circle's going to go on -3. Okay, are we done? No, if this was last week, we'd be done. We just had to put a dot.
You have to do the line.
We got to do the line. We got to shade. We're shading all the numbers that would answer this inequality. All the numbers that are less than or equal to -3. So where are the numbers that are less than -3?
To the left.
To the left. We already got the equal to, right? We already shaded that. So now we need to shade everything else. Less than or equal to -3. And that's it. That's what you're looking for. Yeah?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah. Any question on that? Okay. So just make sure you decide the two things. What kind of circle, which way to shade. Let's look at this one. Okay, is that one set up the way we want it? No. What's wrong with it?
It's not letter, symbol, number.
It's not letter, symbol, number. Right? We want letter. What's our letter in this problem? X. Okay, don't worry about the symbol. We'll come back to that. We want the number on the right. What's our number? 2. Now, look at the original problem. Okay, we're not doing any like math here, right? We're not really like doing arithmetic. All we're doing is rearranging it. Okay, we're not using a calculator to really do anything. What was it pointing at originally?
X. Oh, wait, sorry, 2.
It's pointing at the 2. When you rewrite it, it still has to be pointing at the 2. Okay? Just like that. That's how you rewrite it. Keep it pointing at whatever it was pointing at originally. All right. So now, we're going to graph that. Any question on how we rewrote it? It's the same thing. It's just a different way to do it, and this way is better because what does this inequality tell you now? Well, when we make our graph, what is it going to tell me?
It's going that way.
It's going to shade to the right, right? Before, it was pointing the wrong way, right? It's like it's telling me if I'm going to graph it, you'd think, oh, it's pointing to the left. I should just shade to the left. No, it's because it wasn't set up right. Now it is. So let's make our number line. That's fine. If you did like 0, 1, 2, that's okay too. So how about, yeah, Stephen, what kind of circle?
Open on 2.
Open circle. I'm going to put it right on 2. And which way am I going to shade?
To the right.
Yep, I'm going to shade to the right. And that's it. Open circle on 2, shade to the right. Questions on that? Okay, so I know it's still early in the week. We're not really thinking about reference sheet yet, but when you make a reference sheet, this might be something, if you can't remember it, you want to put on it. Okay, I'll give you some sample problems to do on the reference sheet, but you can add your own notes to it. So you might want to remember, okay, this is for open, this is for closed. If you want to write that on there, you can. And we'll have a couple other little things you might want to put, but that's definitely very important, those two things. Yep.
Is the reference sheet the thing we used on the quiz?
Yep, that's the thing you used on the quiz. It's what I had on Google Classroom the first week, but I didn't do it last week because the printer, you guys can't print it. So once there's a printer that works right across the hall, I'm going to try to go back and have you guys print it yourself. All right? But until we get a printer that works, I'll take care of the printing. All right, let's look at this one. Example C. Okay. Is that set up the way we want it?
Yes.
Yep, it's perfect. Letter, symbol, number. All right, let's do our number line. Really just need 0. You don't have to put 0. I don't even know if I put 0 right in the middle. No, I didn't. So it doesn't matter if you put it in the middle. Just put it somewhere on the number line. Now, what kind of circle this time? Stephen? Open where?
On 0.
On 0. And because this was set up the way you want, it was pointing to the right. So you shade to the right. X is greater than 0. So you're shading all the numbers. Greater means bigger. Everything bigger than 0. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, that's fine. I get the idea. Okay. Any Any questions on that one? Okay, so that's one where I give you the inequality, you tell me the graph. Let's try this one. So now, I'm going to give you the graph, and I want you to tell me the inequality. Yeah?
Go to the bathroom.
Yeah, just sign up. Okay, whenever you write an inequality, every inequality pretty much that we've done today always has a what in it?
A number.
A number and
Variable.
a variable. Now, you can choose the variable. Sometimes I choose y, sometimes I choose x. We might have done one with m. Whatever. You can pick the variable. Just remember where you should put it. Should it go on the left or should it go on the right? When you write an inequality. Where should the letter go?
On the left.
On the left, right? Letter, symbol, number. Number is always on the right. So Adriana, what letter do you want to use for this example 4a? X, sure, you can use X. X, okay, so we got the letter. Let's put the number. What's the number that this is on?
48.
Yep.
48.
Yep, it's on 48. I'm going to always try to make it easy to see. It's not like you're going to have to guess, oh, is that like 48.3? Or no, it's always going to be on a nice, easy number to see. All right, so 48. Now we got to decide the symbol. Right? It's filled in, and it's pointing to the right. Yeah, go ahead, Leilani.
Greater than or equal to.
Yeah. Greater than or equal to. It has to point to the right. And we had the circle filled in, so we need to put the line under it. And that's it. Okay. Any question on 4A? Okay, let's do 4B, and then I'm going to put up some additional ones kind of for you guys to try, and I'll walk around and just kind of help people out. So we had, kind of a rough start, little distractions, but you guys really, after that, we were good. This was really good. You guys focused, and we got through it quick, and we're gonna have some extra time. All right. So 4B. What could I use for my letter?
X.
Yep, we can use X. Doesn't matter. Now, what am I going to use for my number? That matters. 52. Now, it's an open circle, and it's shading left. So what's the symbol that I use?
That's less than.
That's a less than. Perfect. She didn't put the equal to under it, and that's exactly right, because it was an open circle. All right, so we didn't really do a lot of arithmetic today, like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. We're going to do a little bit more of that tomorrow and Wednesday. Any questions on that? All right. So I want you guys to try. I'm going to try to make these a little closer together if I can, so you can see them all. But on your guided notes where it says additional examples, try A, B, C, and D. Okay, once you finish those, I give you maybe 5-10 minutes. We'll go over them, and then I'll give you guys the homework, and you'll probably still have a little bit of time to start that too. All right. Okay, so homework tonight is the worksheet I just gave you on 2.1. Reference sheet, not sure if I'm going to put it online, but if you do want it early, I actually already have it. So I have the reference sheet ready for this week. And then this will be our second to last test for the term. So you guys got progress reports? Next academic week, we have, that's it. So this is the second to last test. So next academic week is the last one
Wait,
for
what?
term 1.
Of this quarter?
Yeah.
Oh, this,
Are you kidding?
I thought you meant last test forever.
Oh my god.
No.
it's already first quarter.
It's almost over.
Oh,
Yeah.
I said like fourth is very low.
So
My
fast.
very first quarter is fourth.
Yo,
I like
I have 4 grades I'm doing like in
Yeah, the reason next academic week,
I'm not filming it,
You have 4
but I'm
days.
in danger, okay? Like, I have 16.
That's a little weird.
next let's see, next academic week is the 25th, right? That's your last academic week. Then the last week of the term, you are in your shop. So November 1st is the last day of the term, but you're in shop, all right? So our last day of class is the 25th for term 1, okay?